What's up everyone? Today I'm going to teach you a very simple recipe which is really more of a cooking trick for you to extract the most amount of flavor out of your sweet potatoes and make your breakfast or anything you want to have with your potatoes as delicious as it can be. I've always found that sweet potatoes can be a little gross when they're just boiled, as the sweetness really comes out too much and is overpowering. But this recipe, although it does retain the sweet aspect of sweet potatoes, it also extracts a ton of flavor and a little bit of crispiness that I'm sure you all enjoy. And as a bonus of this video, I'll show you one awesome breakfast idea for you to really enjoy breakfast, feel like you're having a cheat meal, even though you're really just maximizing your health and really helping yourself in your weight loss program. Now let's get started. Now, just a few words about sweet potatoes. For those of you who are curious about the benefits, sweet potatoes are great for gut health. They're very soothing, and they will definitely help you stay regular in the bathroom. They're packed with nutrients, especially minerals, and especially potassium and manganese. And if you're following a low-carb or keto diet, potassium can be hard to come by sometimes. But that's why it's very important to retain things such as sweet potatoes or potatoes in your diet in limited quantity to provide that potassium requirement that you need to be able to stay regular in the bathroom and stay healthy in general. Alright guys, so for this recipe what you really need is the sweet potatoes. So here actually I have two types of sweet potatoes. I have an orange sweet potato and purple sweet potatoes. So sweet potatoes can be of very different sizes. So in order to make sure you don't overeat sweet potatoes, you always want to be weighing the amount you're going to be cooking. At least in the beginning so that you know about how much you should be eating. So for example, if you're following a keto diet, you can have 80 to 100 grams of sweet potatoes. And for somebody who's not really working out, I would say between 130 and 150 grams per serving, and somebody who works out can go between 150 and 200 grams. But what I do basically, because again, the sweet potatoes can be of very different sizes. As you can see, this one has been cut before. I've actually used it because it's a massive size. But the very good thing about sweet potatoes is that even when you cut them, you can put them in some plastic paper and put it in the fridge, stay fresh for quite a while, probably at least a week. So that's a good tip actually to make sure that you don't waste any of the food that you have and that you also don't overeat. What we'll be using to cook the sweet potatoes is just obviously the potatoes, the salt, and olive oil. So that's it. There's really not much going on here for the sweet potato. But with just those three ingredients, you'll make something that tastes delicious and has great texture. And so for the sweet potatoes, I'm using two types. I'm using purple potatoes and orange sweet potato, as I said earlier. And the reason why I use both is because they have different textures. The orange sweet potato, when cooked, is actually a little creamier. Purple potato has a different texture, but they complement each other really well together. I really encourage that if you're going to make sweet potatoes, try to do both at the same time because that works perfectly. And then I promised you guys that I would show you also a bonus breakfast idea. So here I have 3 pastured eggs. Pastured is very important. The yolk from pastured eggs is very yellow and darker. So the flavor is actually much better than regular eggs. And what I make with my eggs also is I have ginger and turmeric, which I sprinkle on the eggs. And why do I do that? I mean, there's a couple of reasons. Number one, it's delicious. Ginger and turmeric are great spices. But then number two, turmeric and ginger are superfoods. I mean, turmeric has been recognized for its anti-inflammatory benefits, especially for pain. Any type of pain that you have, turmeric is amazing for that. I have it every day. Same thing with ginger, extremely good for the digestive tract and also recognized for its anti-pain benefits. So amazing spices, delicious, will add a ton of flavor to your dish, but also will make you feel amazing. And for the eggs, I also have some paprika and pepper. So the pepper is actually really good with the turmeric because the turmeric benefits and the absorption of turmeric is multiplied by 3,000 times when you add black pepper with it. So black pepper plus turmeric is the combo you want. Okay, so for the sweet potato, all you're going to do here is just cut them horizontally like this in thin layers. So it should look like this. You can actually make them a little thicker. That's really up to you. It might change the texture a little bit, but the taste will be the same. And as you cut them, like I said, you don't want to overeat the sweet potato, especially if you're following a keto diet. So here I have a little scale. I can just put this dish on my scale, turn it on, and then add the sweet potato in there as I cut it, and know exactly how much I'm putting in there. That's really it. So that's what you're gonna do for the sweet potatoes. And then the turmeric and ginger, which you'll use for your eggs, that's also very simple. You're not going to cook it, you're just going to eat it raw. But basically what you do there is you use something to grate it, and just like you would do with cheese, you're going to grate your turmeric and ginger into a plate that, again, you'll then eventually use to put it on top of your eggs. And then same thing with the ginger, you're going to grate it as well. Those spices work great with a grater. I mean, it's very easy to do this, and it gets grated very nicely, very, very quickly too. Okay, then, then you're kind of ready to start cooking the sweet potato and the eggs. But as you can see, this is what the turmeric and ginger looks like once you grated it. Okay, so once you've added your sweet potatoes in the pan with the olive oil, you're just going to add some salt. You can be quite generous with the salt since sweet potatoes are very rich in potassium. And then you put the lid on and you just wait until you see a lot of steam and water on the lid. So as soon as you see, like I said, water on top of the lid and you hear the potatoes cooking, what I do here is I take the lid and I add the water that's stuck to the lid back into the pan to help the cooking. And I put it back on. And at this point, I'm probably gonna leave those potatoes on this one side for another maybe 2 minutes, and then I'll flip them on the other side to make the other side cook. Okay, so it's now time to flip the sweet potatoes. As you can see, they're a little brown, which is the perfect color. And so once all the sweet potatoes are flipped, you put the lid back on and probably cook for another 5 minutes. And then they should be ready. Okay, so our sweet potatoes are now cooked. You can flip them and check, but as you can see, they're also brown on the other side. So as I promised, on top of this simple recipe for sweet potatoes, I'll give you a bonus idea for breakfasts. And I'll just walk you through how I then go on to complete my breakfasts preparation once I finish cooking the sweet potatoes. I usually just leave them in this pan so that they stay warm. And I use the half of the pan that's not covered with the sweet potatoes to make my eggs. So obviously you could use another pan for your eggs. I just like to do it that way so that I don't have to wash too many dishes. I think it's a pretty good tip, because one thing that can get annoying when you're cooking is to have to wash the dishes. And the other thing here is I can use the olive oil left over from the sweet potatoes to cook my eggs. So for my eggs, on top of salt and pepper, I really like to add paprika as a spice on top of it. So I really go for it with the paprika. And paprika is a really great spice that actually helps with insulin sensitivity and weight loss. Okay, so now that my eggs are cooked, my potatoes are cooked, I can just plate everything. So that's it. As you can see, I have my quarter of my plate with my potatoes, my quarter of my plate with my eggs. And one other thing that I like to do with my eggs, and it tastes delicious, and if you don't already know, is great for inflammation and pain in general, is turmeric and ginger, which I buy fresh from the farmer's market. And I grate the turmeric on the eggs. And then I do the same with the ginger, which I also got from the farmer's market. Okay, this is it. Got my sweet potatoes, my eggs, turmeric, ginger. And then what I do is I use the other half of the plate to add my vegetables. I usually have a quarter of my plate with sauerkraut and a quarter of the plate with something like butternut squash or eggplant. And actually here I do have butternut squash, which I already just made, and for which I actually have a recipe available in a video that you can find. I'll add the link down below for that recipe. And I just plate it, like I said, about a quarter of my plate. And then I'll add sauerkraut for another quarter of the plate. And I'm basically ready to go. But as you can see here, it's a big meal. It's going to keep me full and satisfied. It has a ton of nutrients, a ton of nutritional benefits. And this is definitely going to help you in your weight loss. The only thing that you want to change if you want to lose weight or if you want to gain muscle is how much of this part of the dish you have. So we went over that recipe to make those sweet potatoes taste delicious. So I really want you to leverage that in your weight loss program, since even if you're doing a keto diet, right, you can still have just 15 to 20 grams of net carbs from this meal by just having maybe like 80 grams or 100 grams of sweet potatoes instead of 150 grams or 180 grams like I have here because I just worked out. But again, this is a delicious meal which will really keep you satisfied. And I really hope you enjoy it and that I gave you ideas on how to have a really good solid breakfast that will help you enjoy your food, stay satisfied, and lose weight or gain muscle wherever you are basically on your weight loss journey. Alright guys, that covers it for today's recipe. I'll see you next week for another recipe or other practical tips on how to lose weight or optimize your health. Alright, thanks guys.